Why couldn't two jazz legends stand each other? Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald. They were American music history's most brilliant voices. But behind closed doors, a bitter rivalry existed that the public never fully understood. Different singing styles, opposite career philosophies, and incompatible personalities created tension that divided the jazz community for years. While Billie chose emotional authenticity over technical perfection, Ella prioritized vocal virtuosity and commercial appeal. These fundamental differences weren't just artistic, they were deeply personal and complicated by industry politics, racial dynamics, and personal insecurities. Today, I'm going to tell you about this hidden jazz rivalry and explain why the two greatest female vocalists could never coexist peacefully. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel because in the coming weeks, we'll be sharing other legendary music rivalries and the hidden dynamics of the entertainment industry. In the early years of the 1940s, an unprecedented situation developed in the jazz scene when two extraordinary female vocalists emerged simultaneously, each representing completely different approaches to musical artistry. Billie Holiday, already established as a revolutionary interpreter of popular songs, through her unique ability to transform simple melodies into profound emotional experiences, suddenly found herself competing for attention with newcomer Ella Fitzgerald, whose technical brilliance and mainstream appeal offered a stark contrast to Billie's raw emotional intensity. This contrast initially seemed complementary. Industry professionals believed there was room for both distinctive styles within the expanding jazz market. However, underlying tensions soon emerged that would poison the relationship between the two women for the remainder of their careers. The initial encounters between Billie and Ella occurred during the late 1930s when both performers worked the Harlem Club circuit, though at different venues and for different audiences. Billie's reputation centered around intimate nightclubs, where sophisticated listeners appreciated her ability to find hidden meanings in familiar songs, while Ella's early career focused on dance venues where her clear diction and swinging rhythms pleased crowds seeking entertainment rather than artistic revelation. These different performance contexts should have prevented direct competition, but the jazz community's tendency to compare and rank artists inevitably led to discussions about which vocalist represented the superior approach to jazz singing. The first documented tension between them occurred during a recording session at Decca Records in the early 1940s, when both artists were scheduled to record with the same backing musicians on consecutive days. Studio engineers noted a marked difference in preparation methods. Ella arrived with carefully rehearsed arrangements and specific instructions for musicians, demonstrating a professional approach that emphasized precision and commercial viability. The following day, Billie arrived with minimal preparation, relying instead on spontaneous interpretation and emotional instinct to guide the recording process. When studio musicians privately commented on the contrast between approaches, word reached both artists, creating the initial seed of professional jealousy. This incident revealed a fundamental philosophical difference about music making that would define their rivalry. Ella viewed jazz singing as a craft requiring technical mastery, consistent performance standards, and commercial appeal that could sustain long-term career success. Her background with the Chick Webb Orchestra had taught her the importance of reliability, punctuality, and audience satisfaction. Billie, conversely, approached singing as a form of personal expression, where technical perfection was less important than emotional truth and artistic authenticity. Her troubled personal history informed every performance, creating an intimate connection with audiences who recognized genuine human experience in her voice. Musical arrangements provided another point of contrast between their approaches. Ella typically worked with sophisticated orchestrations that showcased her vocal range, often featuring complex harmonies that demonstrated technical mastery. Billie preferred small ensemble settings that allowed flexibility for spontaneous interpretation. Recording techniques illustrated their contrasting approaches. Ella's sessions involved extensive rehearsal and multiple takes for technical perfection. Billie preferred single takes that preserved spontaneous interpretive choices, even when minor imperfections occurred. These technical differences reflected deeper philosophies about jazz's function. Ella's approach demonstrated belief that jazz could achieve mainstream acceptance through professional excellence. Billie's approach embodied philosophy that prioritized cultural authenticity over mainstream acceptance. Industry reception of both artists highlighted this philosophical divide. Music critics praised Ella's professionalism and vocal range while sometimes describing her interpretations as technically impressive but emotionally distant. Billie received accolades for artistic innovation and emotional depth, but critics frequently mentioned her unreliability and personal problems as detractions from her artistic gifts. This critical discourse created an implicit hierarchy that suggested technical excellence was more valuable than emotional authenticity, a narrative that particularly frustrated Billie, who believed her artistic approach represented a higher form of musical expression. Competition intensified when major record labels began actively promoting the idea of rivalry between the two singers as a marketing strategy. A&R executives discovered that positioning artists as opposites increased sales and media attention for both performers. Promotional materials emphasized contrasts: Ella as professional entertainer and Billie as tortured artist, Ella as mainstream appeal, and Billie as sophisticated interpreter, Ella as vocal athlete, and Billie as emotional poet. This marketing campaign succeeded commercially, but created personal animosity between artists who felt pressured to defend their respective approaches publicly. Record industry politics created systematic barriers to collaboration. Major companies actively discouraged cross-label partnerships. When opportunities arose for joint recordings, label executives intervened to prevent collaborations that could have been beneficial. Marketing departments developed sophisticated strategies for positioning them as representing different approaches. Promotional campaigns emphasized contrasts while downplaying common ground. This marketing narrative became so pervasive that rivalry seemed natural rather than manufactured. Radio programming policies reinforced separation between artists. Music directors scheduled their recordings during different time slots to avoid comparison while creating the impression that only one approach could be appreciated at any moment. Distribution strategies targeted different market segments. Ella's albums were promoted through mainstream retail channels, while Billie's recordings were marketed through urban distributors and jazz specialty stores. This segmented approach prevented many listeners from discovering both artists naturally. Corporate manipulation extended to live performance booking, where agencies scheduled competing appearances that forced venues to choose between artists. This practice ensured audiences rarely experienced both approaches during the same event. Magazine coverage positioned singers in opposition rather than exploring individual contributions. Jazz publications rarely featured both artists without explicit comparison, while mainstream magazines preferred sensationalized coverage emphasizing personal differences. This systematic manipulation succeeded in creating genuine animosity between artists. Both became invested in proving superiority of their approaches, partly because commercial success and credibility depended on maintaining distinct identity. Behind this professional competition lay deeper issues related to race, class, and opportunities available to Black female performers during segregated America. Both women faced systematic discrimination and limited career options, but their different strategies for navigating these challenges created mutual resentment. Ella's decision to emphasize mainstream appeal and technical excellence represented a pragmatic approach that maximized commercial success within the existing industry structure. Billie's commitment to artistic authenticity, regardless of commercial consequences, represented an idealistic approach that prioritized creative integrity over financial security. These strategic differences reflected broader tensions within the Black artistic community during the civil rights era. Some argued that achieving mainstream success required conforming to white audience expectations and industry standards, while others insisted that artistic authenticity and cultural pride were more important than commercial acceptance. Ella and Billie became symbols of these competing philosophies, with their personal rivalry reflecting larger cultural debates about assimilation versus resistance, commercial success versus artistic integrity. Civil rights movements' influence added political dimensions to their rivalry. Billie's association with protest songs positioned her as an artist willing to address social issues. Ella's approach reflected a different strategy for advancing Black recognition through excellence within established traditions. NAACP leadership held complex views about both approaches, supporting Ella's mainstream success while appreciating Billie's willingness to address racial injustice directly. Black press coverage reflected these tensions through articles that praised both artists. Church community responses illustrated broader cultural divisions within Black America. Conservative religious leaders criticized both singers for different reasons. Educational institutions reflected divided opinions about appropriate models for artistic achievement. This educational divide influenced younger musicians who faced similar choices about balancing authenticity with commercial viability. Many felt pressure to choose between approaches rather than developing individual synthesis. International perspectives provided additional context for understanding racial dynamics. Personal animosity between them deepened during a series of incidents at high-profile jazz festivals during the mid-1940s. At the Newport Jazz Festival in 1946, Backstage tension reached a boiling point when both artists were scheduled for the same evening program. Witnesses reported a heated exchange where Billie allegedly criticized Ella's soulless singing style and accused her of performing for white people's comfort rather than artistic truth. Ella reportedly responded by questioning Billie's professionalism and suggesting that personal problems interfered with her ability to maintain consistent performance quality. This confrontation became legendary among jazz musicians, though details remained private for decades. Musicians who witnessed the exchange described it as an inevitable explosion of suppressed tensions that had been building throughout their careers. More significantly, the incident revealed how industry pressures had transformed what should have been artistic dialogue into personal attack, with both women feeling the need to diminish the other's achievements to validate their own artistic choices. Professional jealousy manifested in various subtle ways throughout the 1940s. Both artists carefully avoided direct collaboration, despite numerous opportunities for joint performances that could have been mutually beneficial. When Ella achieved commercial success with her songbook series featuring works of major American composers, Billie privately expressed frustration that her pioneering work interpreting the same songwriters hadn't received equivalent recognition or financial reward. When Billie received critical acclaim for artistic innovation and influence on younger singers, Ella felt overshadowed, despite her superior commercial achievements and broader mainstream appeal. This mutual resentment was complicated by genuine respect that each held for the other's abilities. Private conversations with close associates revealed that both women recognized the other's exceptional talents while disagreeing with artistic choices and career strategies. Ella admired Billie's ability to find profound meaning in simple songs, but disapproved of her chaotic lifestyle and unprofessional behavior. Billie respected Ella's technical skills and commercial success, but felt that emphasis on precision came at the expense of emotional authenticity and cultural expression. Psychological profiles revealed how childhood experiences shaped their competitive relationship. Billie's traumatic early life created a deep need for validation, making her sensitive to criticism. Ella's background emphasized achievement through discipline rather than emotional expression. These contrasting patterns created incompatible approaches to handling stress. Billie responded with intensified emotional expression, while Ella focused on technical preparation and commercial strategy. These psychological differences influenced their relationships with other musicians and industry professionals in ways that further complicated their rivalry. Billie attracted supporters who valued artistic authenticity, while Ella's network consisted of industry professionals who appreciated technical excellence. These different support systems reinforced contrasting approaches while creating mutual suspicion about motivations. External pressure made personal reconciliation difficult. Mental health considerations also played a significant role in their relationship dynamics. Billie's documented struggles created unpredictability that made professional collaboration challenging while generating sympathy among some industry professionals. Ella's apparent psychological stability created an impression of professional superiority that sometimes masked her own insecurities about artistic significance. This psychological complexity made their rivalry particularly intense because both artists represented different responses to similar challenges facing Black female performers during the segregated era. Rather than recognizing shared struggles and supporting each other's different strategies for achieving success, their personal insecurities transformed professional competition into personal animosity that prevented beneficial collaboration throughout their careers. This tragic dynamic illustrated how industry pressures could turn potential allies into adversaries, robbing American music of what might have been extraordinary artistic partnerships between two of its greatest vocal artists. Social dynamics within the jazz community further complicated their relationship. Musicians, critics, and industry professionals often felt compelled to choose sides rather than appreciating both approaches. This divided loyalty created factions within the jazz scene that extended the rivalry beyond personal animosity to broader cultural conflict about jazz's artistic direction and social function. Younger musicians particularly felt pressure to align themselves with either Billie's artistic integrity approach or Ella's commercial professionalism philosophy. The late 1940s brought additional complications as both women faced different career challenges that highlighted their strategic differences. Billie's legal problems and addiction issues created professional difficulties that seemed to validate critics of her lifestyle choices, while Ella's continued commercial success demonstrated the viability of the mainstream approach. However, Ella's very success created new pressures to maintain commercial appeal, while Billie's struggles paradoxically enhanced her artistic reputation among critics who valued authenticity over consistency. This period also revealed how racial dynamics influenced their rivalry. White critics and audiences often preferred Ella's less threatening artistic persona, while black audiences frequently connected more deeply with Billie's emotional expressions of struggle and resistance. This racial divide in audience appreciation created additional tension between artists who were competing not just for commercial success, but for cultural legitimacy within their own community. International recognition patterns differed significantly between them, adding another dimension to their competitive relationship. European audiences, particularly in France and England, embraced Billie as a serious artist whose work represented authentic American jazz expression. European critics praised her innovative interpretations and emotional depth, while sometimes dismissing more commercial American jazz as entertainment rather than art. Ella's initial European reception was more mixed, with critics appreciating her technical skills but questioning her artistic significance compared to more adventurous jazz innovators. This international perspective influenced American critical discourse and added pressure for both artists to prove their artistic credibility beyond commercial success. Billie's European recognition validated her artistic approach and provided refuge from American industry pressures, while Ella worked to demonstrate that commercial appeal didn't preclude artistic seriousness. This dynamic further complicated their relationship by introducing questions about cultural authenticity and artistic legitimacy within an international context. The final years of their rivalry were marked by tragic circumstances that prevented any possibility of reconciliation. Billie's deteriorating health and increasing legal problems created a situation where professional collaboration became impossible regardless of personal feelings. Ella's continued success and industry prominence meant that any gesture toward Billie could be interpreted as condescending charity rather than genuine artistic recognition. This context ensured that their rivalry would remain unresolved until Billie's death in 1959. The aftermath of Billie's death brought complex emotions for Ella, who privately expressed regret about missed opportunities for collaboration while maintaining her public position about artistic differences. The jazz community began reassessing the rivalry with the benefit of historical perspective, recognizing how industry manipulation and social pressures had prevented natural artistic dialogue between two exceptional performers. Legacy of their rivalry continues influencing discussions about artistic integrity versus commercial appeal within the music industry today. Contemporary artists facing similar choices often reference Billie and Ella as representing different philosophical approaches to balancing artistic vision with commercial viability. This enduring relevance suggests that their conflict reflected fundamental tensions within the American entertainment industry rather than simple personal animosity between two exceptional performers. Their story serves as a cautionary tale about how industry structures can pit talented individuals against each other, while preventing collaborative achievements that might have advanced both artistic excellence and commercial success simultaneously. Modern analysis reveals how their rivalry was a product of industry structures that limited opportunities for black female artists, while encouraging competition rather than collaboration. Both women were victims of a system that benefited from their mutual antagonism, while preventing recognition of their complementary contributions to American music. Understanding this context allows appreciation of both approaches without perpetuating the either-or mentality that characterized their era and continues to influence discussions about artistic integrity versus commercial success within the contemporary music industry today. If you enjoyed this video and are curious about other legendary music rivalries, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Next week, we'll explain Duke Ellington and Count Basie's big band supremacy battle and the untold stories of jazz orchestra competition that revealed equally fascinating industry dynamics and personal tensions. Tell me in the comments, do you think a balance between artistic authenticity and commercial success is possible, or do artists have to choose one or the other?